So, episode 1, Long Time No See Rome. In this episode of my podcast, I'm continuing my review of HBO's Rome. This is gonna be a geek review. Let me repeat once again my dual classification of stuff that I'm following as a method of evaluation. Geek and bitch reviews, depending on whether I like the thing I'm reviewing or not. Bitch or geek, I either like a thing or not. There is no middle ground. So, Rome, Season 1, Episode 1. I got my bucket of coffee, let's get to it. So we start off with a nice exposition of a voice narrator that tells us about how we are at a point in history where the Roman Republic has been in rule for 4 centuries. And currently the power lies with two people, Magnus Pompey, who is in Rome and guarding the peace, kinda retired from his career as a conquering general back in the day, and Julius Caesar, who stands on kinda the opposite side of the river. He's now out of the capital and up north in the barbarian lands, where he's taking over the Gauls, getting himself some fame and riches so he can march back home with a powerful host. So, in all honesty, I went into this show kind of skeptical, because at the time I was thinking nothing could be better than Game of fucking Thrones, and besides, almost all the shows and movies related to this period of history always kind of turned out disappointing to me. So when this piece of narration happened to be the first thing that I saw of Rome, my reaction was meh, kind of like 300, kind of like Troy, kind of like Hollywood, kind of like crap. Although the voice is epic and the map looked nice and whatever, but this was all because of bias. Now that I've seen the whole show for itself, I can honestly say this starting point is really very nice. Not typical, I gotta say, not for a show of this kind of, I don't know, HBO type show or whatever, because for the rest of the entire 2 seasons, you don't see any more narration like this, and it seems a little out of place, but nonetheless, I really like it now, so it's nice opening. And then the first thing we see right after that is the face of that ginger actor who I'd previously known from Grey's Anatomy and some other crappy movies that I don't really remember. Oh yeah, the Percy Jackson movie. I don't know how I remembered that he was there at all, but I guess it's because he's left me with the overall impression that he's a very good actor indeed. And in Grey's Anatomy, he totally was an awesome actor. So when the first face I saw in Rome was that one, I went, wow, I think this is actually going to be good. Though, technically speaking, prior to him, we see Mance Rayder as Caesar, which was awesome as well, but I kind of don't count that as the first face in the story, because it was in the narration, and the first time I saw it, I didn't really care or remember visually who is Caesar and who is Pompey or whatever. So this ginger guy, I don't remember the actor's name exactly. I think it was Kevin somebody, really set the mood for me. And besides, he was shown right into the battle alongside the legions. And I was like, yeah, totally awesome. Romans in action. It reminded me of that movie, The Eagle, which for the most part was really good as well. As far as I can remember, because I saw it quite a long time ago, somewhere in high school. So then we see how badass the Roman legions with their master formations are, how calm and collected they are in contrast to the barbarians, who fly and fly into them like crazy leopards and rabbits just to get stabbed and gored. It really goes to show and makes you realize how amazing the Romans were, what they meant for the civilized world back then, the impact and influence they had over, well, everything these 2000, 2000 these 2000 years ago. And then we get introduced to the character of Titus Pullo, of course. From the very start, we see he's gonna have trouble with the authorities. And the authorities we mainly see in the face of his commander, which is a ginger guy, or Varinus, as I've actually come to call the actor in every situation. About 4 minutes into the show, he we now know for sure that these two are gonna be our main companions throughout the story, and that they're gonna be alive for some time. I would have said that we'd know they would never die, but at this point I'd seen Game of Thrones and I'd read the Song of Ice and Fire books, and I'd learned that Game of Thrones was being made on the basis of Rome. So that's why I couldn't think the two main characters would live the whole way through. Although Pulo did, which was nice. Then we see some Pulo whipping, and then we're off to our introduction of Julius Caesar himself, otherwise known as Mance Rayder. He subdues the king of the Gauls, who I'm still not so familiar with. I've yet to read some materials on the Gallic Wars, and I'll totally do it when I have the time for it, but for now I don't really know anything about this king of the Gauls, except for the fact that he's not fictional, and he was well known. I'm positive I've seen his name and some basic info on him, but it's totally vague to me, to put it mildly. So seeing him stripped naked and humiliated before Caesar, kissing the eagle, is a very nice moment, alongside the fact that the Roman camp was made so well. It totally strikes you from the very beginning, all the amazing details the showmakers put into the visual aspect of Rome. Then it's funny to see how the end of the war is announced to the viewer, and we see the soldier's perspective on it. You'd think a person would be happy that he's free to go home and stop being under constant threat from savages cutting their throats open. But no, some of them are literally unhappy, including one of our main protagonists, that the rape and pillage days are over. So then we see Julia's death scene. Really nice touch. It kind of shows us the relationship between Caesar and Pompey as to a fucking phone, excuse me. What was I saying? The relationship, between Caesar and Pompey as, so to say, dense, close even, which I don't usually get from other places because I'm reading this historical novel called Julius Caesar by a guy from Poland named Alexander Kravchuk. He's strangely not known in the US and even the rest of Europe, I think. Because his stuff is really very good. I really enjoy his books, and he's written quite a lot like about Caesar, Octavian, Nero, and Cleopatra. Back to the point, I don't see the relationship between Pompey and Caesar in real life as it was depicted in Rome. I kind of see it as way more cold and political and strictly business related. But I've come to consider this show as historical fiction, which is something I adore. So I'm totally okay with these characters portrayed this way. It's also nice to see. It's also a nice touch how the scene where Julius reads the news from Rome shows us. It shows us his character traits. Like he's sensitive. He does care about people genuinely. He's not like this some sort of freaking monster. But he's extremely good in controlling his emotions, not hiding them, but rather controlling them, acknowledging them without letting them take over. His line is like pronounced in a very uncaring way. A girl stillborn, whatever, shit happens. But you can still see like a little glimpse of tears in his eyes. And I think this is totally awesome. It goes to show the talent of Mance Rayder. Then we see the funeral ritual of his daughter Julia that died back in the capital. She's like standing, her corpse is standing up against the wall like what is played during the rites. And I'm not all that familiar with Roman funeral rituals. I've read some stuff and seen some scenes in other movies, but I don't think I've ever seen this before. Why is the corpse standing straight, like upright? Is that an effigy? Because it looks pretty real. I don't know if you happen to be familiar with the details behind that. Just put it in the comments, because I totally want to know. Then we see a glimpse of Cicero and the other senators bitching about Caesar getting powerful. And after that, we are introduced to Timon the Jew, who walks through the forum, which in this show is represented in, I dare say, a unique way. I mean, watching this, you can hardly realize it's not a movie and it's a TV show. And yeah, the budget was huge, like 8 million per episode. Yeah, I think it was something like 8 millions per episode. But it's still not a whole freaking movie. So yeah, this is just amazing. And I'm a sucker for building and the architecture of ancient Rome. So I'm bound to notice that at about 11:20, we get a view of the Capitoline Hill with the Temple of Jupiter on top. And I gotta point out that I'm not 100% sure it's the Capitoline because it's in a distant background, but it would be totally awesome if it was right. So I'm sticking to the positive kind of answer to this question. And then we see one of my most favorite pieces of this freaking show, and that is namely Ian McNeice as a newsreader. My god, I love this guy so freaking much. I mean, the actor as a whole, I've seen him in many movies and shows and even documentaries, I remember. He's such an outstanding actor, and I've mostly come to consider him as a Baron Vladimir Harkonnen from the Children of Dune miniseries. He was amazing there, as is the film, as are the books. Because I'm a gigantic Dune fan, but whatever, out of topic. The newspaper in the forum is... The newspaper, like... the newsreader in the forum is epic, hilarious, and the iconic element of this show. Like, the artistic and overly gestured manner of his speeches is absolutely ridiculous, mesmerizing, and originally crafted by the showmakers. The character is just spot on, a jackpot in my opinion. I gotta be honest, I have many favorite characters in the show, like Attila, Octavian, or Cleopatra, and whatever. And I often find myself struggling with the conclusion that the newsreader is actually the very best of all these characters. Ironically and literally, and whatever he's speaking. There was this video of all his scenes put together in an uploaded YouTube video in one long and epic speech, and the guy had posted this one guy had commented on this video, like saying, "This man is the true protagonist of the show." And I gotta say, dude, I so agree with you, and I don't even know if I'm kidding or not, because I think I'm not. Okay, so now that I've had my newsreader orgasm, let me talk about the introduction of the most hilariously ruthless bitch that I've seen on television, and that is Octavian's mother Atia, which is, I'd say, the main character in Rome. She's my favorite character alongside the newsreader, and I don't just mean like from this show, but out of probably most shows that I've seen, Atia of the Julii, as she's nicknamed here, is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, even Cersei Lannister can eat her dust on the bitch race. And I mean book Cersei, not the show one. From the very start, she's shown as this carelessly sexual woman, devoid of any guilt and consciousness, like fucking with her servants to get what she wants, or walking around naked in front of her son, who is to be the twisted future emperor of Rome. And the cherry of the ice cream is the graphic side of it all. I mean, you know you're gonna see some stuff with HBO. The sex and dicks and vaginas are not just there, they're like right in your face. And I've come to hate this aspect of HBO's because they overused in Game of Thrones. But I love Rome so much that here it doesn't really bother me. What's more, the reality check does not bother me in the least as well. Like, I read the sources, and they're quite uninformative about the real Atia, and what little known stuff there is about her it's not at all that interesting because it seems like she was actually a woman of exaggerated virtue, like really pious and stuff. And I'm totally okay with the showmakers taking the historical fiction route, making Ati a scheming bitch with ambitions. So let's move on, because I'm gonna discuss Atia quite a lot in the future, anyhow. So we see Atia wanting to kiss some Caesar ass, and she needs her son to go to goal to present her uncle with a stallion for a gift. We see her as a ruthlessly ambitious bitch once again, risking her son's life for the sake of ass kissing and all. We get our first glimpse of Octavian as the shrewd politician he is to become, and we're off to the Senate House. This this announcer guy, the really old one that acts like a keeper of the order of speeches during the debates. I'm not quite familiar with the specific titles and functions of each of these senator guys. So about him and his vocal cords, what was that about? Is this person fictional or is he real? Because if he's real, I really want to know more about him. And he he's not. I say, uh, if he's not fictional, I say well done once again, showmakers. It's a really nice touch with his affliction. Oh, wow, this is getting quite long. Okay, I'm cutting it off here as part one. Okay, guys, this was part one of my review of episode one of Rome, the Stolen Eagle. Uh, the Stolen Eagle. Expect part two, and then the rest of the entire, I don't know, freaking show.